He came in. "Emily, you're telling me that you let me believe you were just some girl who liked serving ice cream for 4 years. Why? Why would you hide that from me?" I said, "Yes, I help with family business now. You're a husband who was embarrassed by my job, who left me for someone with more obvious wealth and status." He finally said, "I made a terrible mistake." This story begins with Emily, who served ice cream at a tiny mall booth. Hiding a secret no one could imagine, heartbroken when her husband left for wealth. As secrets are revealed and regrets unfold, love finds its way in the most unexpected places. And before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it truly helps support this channel. The morning sun streamed through the large windows of Silverwood Mall, casting golden light across my tiny ice cream booth. I wiped down the counter for the 3rd time, arranging the colorful toppings in perfect little rows. Each scoop I served came with a genuine smile, something that seemed to surprise people in this fast-paced world of 2024. "Good morning, Mrs. Patterson," I called to the elderly woman approaching with her granddaughter. "The usual strawberry cone?" "You remember." Mrs. Patterson's face lit up. "Emily, dear, you always make our day brighter." These moments filled my heart. 2 years of marriage to Nathan Cross had taught me to treasure simple joys, especially when my own relationship felt increasingly strained. I handed the little girl her cone, watching her eyes sparkle with delight. Nathan arrived at noon, his loan advisor badge still clipped to his pressed shirt. At 38, he carried himself with the confidence of someone who believed he deserved more than what life had given him. His dark hair was perfectly styled, but his expression held that familiar look of disappointment. "Still playing ice cream lady, I see," Nathan said, glancing around my booth with barely concealed embarrassment. My chest tightened, but I kept my voice gentle. "I love what I do, Nathan. You know that." "Emily, you've been doing this for 4 years. Don't you think it's time to grow up?" His words stung, but I'd learned to absorb them without flinching. I watched Nathan scan the bustling mall corridors. He spent his days processing loan applications for wealthy clients, and I could see how their lifestyle consumed his thoughts. The expensive watches, luxury cars, designer clothes, everything Nathan felt he deserved but couldn't afford on our modest income. "I'm thinking of getting a new car," he said suddenly. "Mine is 6 years old. It's embarrassing." "Nathan, we talked about this. We're saving for." "For what? Your little ice cream dreams?" The bitterness in his voice made my stomach clench. After Nathan left, I served customers with my usual warmth, but my mind wandered. Mrs. Lane, who owned the jewelry store nearby, stopped by for her afternoon treat. "That husband of yours looked upset again," she observed gently. I forced a smile. "Just work stress." But deep down, I knew it was more. Nathan had grown distant, coming home later each night, complaining about everything from our small apartment to my choice of career. I'd built something beautiful with my ice cream booth, regular customers who brightened my day, a small but steady income, and the satisfaction of creating joy in small moments. Why couldn't Nathan see that? Later that afternoon, I watched from my booth as Nathan wandered near the coffee shop. A striking woman in an expensive-looking suit caught his attention. Even from a distance, I could see her confidence, the way she carried her designer handbag, the flash of what looked like luxury car keys in her manicured hand. Nathan approached her. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I watched him straighten his shoulders, putting on his most charming smile. The woman, tall, polished, with an aura of success that seemed to radiate from her, appeared intrigued by his attention. My heart sank as I witnessed their animated conversation. Nathan looked more alive talking to this stranger than he had with me in months. When she handed him what was clearly her business card, I felt something crack inside my chest. "Emily?" A customer's voice brought me back to reality. "Sorry, what can I get you?" I managed, pushing down the growing unease. That evening, Nathan came home 2 hours later than usual. Traffic was terrible, he said, not meeting my eyes. And my car made this weird noise again. I really need something reliable. I wanted to ask about the woman, about the business card I'd seen him pocket, but fear held my tongue. Instead, I heated up his dinner and listened to him complain about his 6-year-old Honda. "You know, Emily, some people actually support their spouse's ambitions," Nathan said, picking at his food. "I do support you, Nathan. I always have." "By scooping ice cream?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Do you know what my colleagues think when they ask what my wife does?" The words hit like physical blows. I'd chosen this simple life deliberately, finding meaning in small interactions and genuine connections. But Nathan saw only embarrassment. Later that week, our mutual friend Jake stopped by my booth. His uncomfortable expression immediately put me on alert. "Emily, I probably shouldn't say this, but..." Jake looked around nervously. "Nathan's been talking to some of us guys about... well... about how unhappy he is." My hand stilled on the ice cream scoop. "Unhappy, how?" "About your job. He says he feels humiliated that his wife works at the mall. He thinks you're not ambitious enough." Jake's voice grew softer. "I thought you should know. Some of us think he's being unfair, but..." The rest of Jake's words blurred together. I'd sensed Nathan's growing dissatisfaction, but hearing it confirmed by friends made the reality inescapable. Our marriage was crumbling, and I was the only one trying to hold it together. That night, I lay awake listening to Nathan's steady breathing. He'd been working late more frequently, always with explanations about difficult clients or extra paperwork. But I'd seen the spark in his eyes when he talked to that elegant woman at the coffee shop. I thought about our early days together, how Nathan used to say he admired my independence, my ability to find joy in simple things. Now those same qualities seemed to disgust him. I'd married a man who claimed to love my authenticity, only to watch him resent it more each day. My parents had always supported my choice to live humbly, even though they'd given me every opportunity for a different life. They understood my need to build something myself, not influenced by family wealth or status. But Nathan was pulling away from everything I valued. And as I watched him sleep beside me, I wondered if our love had ever been as real as I'd believed. 3 weeks later, Nathan came home with the expression I'd been dreading. He sat on our small couch, avoiding eye contact, and I knew our world was about to shatter. "Emily, we need to talk." My heart hammered as I settled beside him, leaving space between us that felt like a chasm. "I've been thinking about us, about our future," Nathan began, his voice steady but cold. I don't think we want the same things anymore. What do you mean? Though I already knew. Nathan finally looked at me, and I saw a stranger. I met someone. Her name is Vanessa Cole. She's a successful lawyer with her own practice. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd prepared myself for this conversation, but nothing could have readied me for the casual way he destroyed our marriage. She understands ambition, Emily. She has goals, drive. She's building something real with her life. And I'm not? My voice came out smaller than I intended. You're 32, selling ice cream at a mall booth. Vanessa owns a law firm. She lives in a penthouse downtown. She's everything I've been looking for. I stared at this man I'd loved for 4 years, 2 years of dating, 2 years of marriage. The man who once told me my kindness was what drew him to me, who said he admired how I treated every customer like family. What about our marriage? Our vows? Nathan stood, pacing to the window. I'll file for divorce. Vanessa thinks it should be simple, no kids, no property. We can both move on quickly. The clinical way he discussed dismantling our life together made my chest ache. Just like that. Emily, be honest. Haven't you felt us growing apart? I need more than this. He gestured around our modest but sweet apartment. Vanessa and we have plans. Real plans. I wanted to scream, to fight, to remind him of every beautiful moment we'd shared. Instead, I found myself nodding numbly. Because what was the point? Nathan had already left me emotionally, this was just making it official. Within a week, Nathan moved out. I sat in our apartment, now just my apartment, surrounded by the echoes of what we'd built together. The coffee mug he'd used every morning sat unwashed in the sink. His favorite throw pillow remained on the couch where he'd left it. The divorce proceedings moved quickly, just as Nathan mentioned. No children to consider, no shared assets to divide. Just the dissolution of promises I'd thought would last forever. I called my mother through tears. Oh, sweetheart, Mom's voice was thick with sympathy. Come home. Let us take care of you. I drove to my parents' mansion in the hills overlooking the city, a world away from the life I'd chosen for myself. The familiar grandeur, marble foyers, crystal chandeliers, perfectly manicured gardens, felt surreal after months of heartbreak. Dad hugged me tight in the doorway. That boy was a fool, Emily. We always knew you were too good for him. Over dinner in their elegant dining room, they listened as I explained the last conversation with Nathan. Mom reached across the table to squeeze my hand. We never understood why you insisted on that tiny apartment and the ice cream booth, Dad said gently. But we respected your choice to build your own life. We still do. The booth has been successful, I managed through tears. I have regular customers, people who genuinely care about me. It means something. Of course it does, Mom agreed. You've always had this gift for connecting with people. Remember when you were little, how you talked to everyone at the grocery store, the mailman, anyone who crossed your path? I smiled despite my pain. Nathan called it naive. Nathan was wrong, Dad said firmly. Your kindness is a strength, not a weakness. Don't let his blindness make you doubt that. They offered again for me to move back home, to leave the world that had hurt me so badly. The temptation was strong, to retreat into comfort and security, to let my parents shield me from any more pain. But something in me resisted. I'd chosen independence for a reason. Running home felt like admitting Nathan was right about my choices being childish. I need to go back, I told them. I need to face this and move forward on my own terms. Mom's eyes filled with pride. That's our girl. Driving back to my empty apartment, I thought about Nathan's new life with this woman Vanessa. I imagined them in expensive restaurants, at gallery openings, surrounded by successful people discussing important things. Everything Nathan thought he wanted. Part of me wondered if he was right. Maybe I was naive, settling for small pleasures while others built empires. Maybe contentment wasn't enough. But as I unlocked my apartment door and saw the cards from my ice cream booth customers, get well wishes when I'd had the flu, birthday cards, little notes thanking me for brightening their days, I remembered why I'd chosen this life. These connections were real. The joy on a child's face when they tried a new flavor, the way Mrs. Patterson's granddaughter always asked specifically for me to make her cone, these moments mattered. Nathan had chosen status over substance, appearance over authenticity. That was his decision to live with. I spent the weekend going through our shared belongings, packing away memories and creating space for whatever came next. With each box, I felt a little lighter. Not healed, that would take time, but no longer drowning. On Sunday evening, I called my parents. I'm okay, I told them, and for the first time in weeks, I meant it. It hurts, but I'm going to be okay. We know you will be, Dad said. You're stronger than you know, sweetheart. As I hung up the phone, I looked around my small apartment with new eyes. Yes, my life looked simple compared to what Nathan had chosen. But it was mine, built on values I believed in, filled with relationships that mattered. Nathan had chosen Vanessa's glittering world over our quiet life together. Now I had to choose too, whether to let his betrayal break me or use it to grow stronger. I chose strength. And somewhere deep in my chest, beneath the pain and disappointment, I felt something surprising, relief. The person Nathan had become wasn't someone I wanted to be married to anyway. His leaving had hurt, but it had also freed me from pretending our relationship was something it wasn't. I was 32, starting over, and for the first time in months, that felt like a beginning rather than an ending. 6 months passed like a slow healing. Spring turned to summer, and I'd found my rhythm again, managing my ice cream booth, rebuilding my confidence one customer at a time. The divorce papers were final, Nathan was a memory I'd carefully boxed away, and I was learning to enjoy my own company. Then Mom called on a Tuesday morning in July, her voice shaking. Emily, sweetheart, we need you to come to the hospital. Your father collapsed at the office this morning. The ice cream scoop slipped from my hand, clattering onto the counter. What happened? Is he okay? They're running tests. Something with his liver. Can you come now? I closed my booth early and raced to Mercy General, my heart pounding with each mile. Dad had always been invincible in my mind, the successful businessman who'd built Silverwood Mall from nothing, who'd worked 18-hour days for decades to provide for our family. I found Mom in the waiting room, clutching her purse with white knuckles. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. The doctors are still examining him, she said as I hugged her. They mentioned liver function, possibly hepatitis, maybe something worse. We waited for what felt like hours. Finally, a young doctor emerged from the examination room. He was tall with kind brown eyes and an air of quiet confidence that immediately put me at ease. "Mrs. Hart. I'm Dr. Alexander Reid. I've been examining your husband. How is he?" Mom asked, standing quickly. Dr. Reid's expression was serious but reassuring. "Mr. Hart has elevated liver enzymes and some concerning symptoms. We'll need to run more comprehensive tests, blood work, imaging, possibly a biopsy. But I want you to know that many liver conditions are very treatable when caught early." "Can we see him?" I asked. "Of course. He's resting but alert. Room 314. Dad looked pale against the white hospital sheets, but his eyes lit up when we entered. "There are my girls. Don't look so worried, I'm too stubborn to let a little liver trouble slow me down." But I could see the fear beneath his bravado. This strong man who'd always protected everyone else was suddenly facing his own mortality. Over the following weeks, Dr. Reid, Alex, as he insisted we call him, became a constant presence in our lives. He ordered test after test, explaining each procedure with patience and genuine concern. Unlike many doctors who rushed through appointments, Alex took time to answer our questions, to reassure Dad when the uncertainty became overwhelming. "Your father is responding well to treatment," Alex told us after Dad's third week in the hospital. "But his recovery will take time. He needs to avoid stress, reduce his workload significantly." Mom looked at me meaningfully. "Emily, we need to discuss the mall." That evening, sitting in Dad's hospital room while he slept, Mom explained the situation. "Silverwood Mall employs over 3,000 people. Your father has been the sole decision maker for 25 years, but he can't continue that pace." "What are you saying?" "We need help managing the business. The board is pressuring us to bring in outside executives, but your father wants to keep it in the family." Mom reached for my hand. "He wants you involved, Emily." The idea terrified me. I knew virtually nothing about running a major shopping center. My ice cream booth had taught me customer service, but managing a business worth hundreds of millions of dollars. "Mom, I'm not qualified for this." "You're more qualified than you know. You understand people, you have integrity, and you care about doing things right. Those qualities matter more than anything." I hired Sarah, a bright college student, to manage my ice cream booth and threw myself into learning the mall business. Dad's executive assistant, Clara, became my guide through the complex world of lease negotiations, maintenance contracts, marketing strategies, and financial reports. The learning curve was steep. I spent 12-hour days shadowing department heads, attending meetings with store owners, reviewing budgets that made my head spin. The investors were skeptical, a 32-year-old woman with no business background suddenly involved in major decisions. "Miss Hart," said Richard Holloway, the lead investor, during a particularly tense board meeting. "We appreciate family loyalty, but this business requires expertise. Perhaps it's time to consider professional management." I felt every eye in the room judging me, waiting for me to crumble under pressure. But something in me refused to back down. "Mr. Holloway, I understand your concerns. But this mall isn't just a business, it's a community. Those 3,000 employees aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're people with families, dreams, responsibilities. I may not have an MBA, but I know how to treat people with respect and dignity. The room fell silent. Then Clara, who'd worked with Dad for 15 years, spoke up. In all my time here, I've never seen employees respond to anyone the way they respond to Emily. She's been here 3 weeks and already knows the names of our custodial staff, our security guards, our part-time workers. They trust her. Slowly, I began to find my footing. I implemented small changes, employee recognition programs, better break areas, more flexible scheduling for working parents. The staff noticed, and their loyalty grew. Alex continued treating Dad, but he also became someone I could talk to during the overwhelming early days of learning the business. How do you handle the pressure? I asked him one evening as we grabbed coffee from the hospital cafeteria. Making life and death decisions every day. You remember why you're doing it, Alex said simply. When I see a patient like your father, someone who's built something meaningful, who has people depending on him, I know that my job is about more than medical procedures. It's about preserving what matters. There was something about Alex's quiet wisdom that drew me in. He wasn't flashy or status conscious like Nathan had been. He simply did his job with competence and compassion. Why did you become a doctor? I asked. Alex smiled. Same reason you work so hard to connect with people, I think. There's something satisfying about making someone's day a little better, about solving problems that actually matter. As weeks passed, I noticed Alex lingering after his medical consultations, asking about my progress with the mall, offering gentle encouragement when the stress became overwhelming. But I kept my guard up. Nathan's betrayal had left me wary of men's motivations. Still, I couldn't deny Alex's sincerity. When Dad had a setback and needed emergency surgery, Alex stayed late to personally oversee his care. When I broke down crying in the hospital hallway from exhaustion and worry, Alex simply sat beside me, offering quiet support without trying to fix everything. Your father is going to be okay, he told me that night. And so are you. You're stronger than you realize, Emily. Dad's health slowly stabilized, but his energy remained limited. The board voted to make me Chief Financial Officer, a title that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. I'm proud of you, Dad said from his hospital bed. Not because you're taking over the business, but because you're doing it your way. With integrity. As I drove home that night, I reflected on how much had changed in 6 months. Nathan's abandonment had nearly broken me, but it had also forced me to discover strengths I didn't know I possessed. And Alex, kind, humble guy, had become a steady presence in my chaotic new life. I wasn't ready to trust my heart again, but I couldn't ignore the way he made me feel safe, valued, understood. Maybe healing didn't always mean returning to what you'd lost. Maybe sometimes it meant building something entirely new. The autumn leaves were changing when I officially stepped into my role as CFO of Silverwood Mall. Dad had been released from the hospital but was working reduced hours from home, leaving me to navigate the complex world of commercial real estate largely on my own. My first major challenge came during a crisis with Pemberton's department store, one of our anchor tenants. Their lease was up for renewal, and they were threatening to leave unless we reduced their rent by 30%. We can't afford to lose them, Clara explained as we reviewed the numbers. Pemberton's brings in 40% of our foot traffic. Without them, half our smaller stores would struggle. I stared at the financial projections, feeling the weight of 3,000 jobs on my shoulders. This wasn't about managing my tiny ice cream booth anymore. Every decision I made rippled through hundreds of lives. Set up a meeting with their executives, I decided. But not in the conference room. Let's meet in the mall itself. The Pemberton's team arrived expecting a typical corporate negotiation. Instead, I walked them through the mall during peak hours, introducing them to store owners, employees, and longtime customers. Mrs. Rodriguez has worked at the jewelry counter for 12 years, I told them as we passed the accessories department. Her daughter is starting college next year. Mr. Kim opened his watch repair shop here 8 years ago, it's been his dream since immigrating from Korea. By the end of our tour, the Pemberton's executives had a different perspective. We negotiated a reasonable rent reduction tied to performance incentives, keeping them as tenants while protecting the mall's financial stability. How did you know that would work? Asked David Shaw, our head of operations. Because people respond to being treated as human beings, not just numbers on a balance sheet, I replied. It's the foundation of everything successful. Word of my approach spread quickly through the industry. Rather than seeing tenants as adversaries, I built partnerships. I instituted quarterly meetings where store owners could share concerns and suggestions. I created mentorship programs pairing successful longtime tenants with newer businesses. The investors noticed. Richard Halloway, who'd been skeptical of my involvement, pulled me aside after a particularly successful board meeting. Miss Hart, I owe you an apology. Your father always said this business was about relationships, not just real estate. I'm beginning to understand what he meant. But success brought new challenges. The mall's profitability was improving, and word was getting out about our turnaround. Industry publications started mentioning my leadership, calling me an innovative voice in retail management. That's when the complications began. Alex had been a constant source of support during Dad's recovery, and our friendship had deepened over countless hospital conversations and coffee meetings. He was intelligent, funny, and genuinely interested in my thoughts and dreams. But Nathan's betrayal had left me questioning everyone's motives. You seem troubled, Alex observed one evening as we sat in the hospital cafeteria after Dad's latest checkup. Good news about your father's progress, but you don't look happy about it. I stirred my coffee absently. Alex, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Why are you being so kind to me? To my family. Alex looked surprised. What do you mean? I mean, you're a successful doctor. You could be dating anyone, spending your free time however you want. Why are you here with me, listening to my business problems, caring about people you barely know? Understanding dawned in Alex's eyes. Someone hurt you badly. My ex-husband left me for a woman with more money and status. He said I wasn't ambitious enough, that my life was too small. The words came out more bitter than I intended. Alex was quiet for a long moment. My family owns oil refineries across the Southwest. We have more money than we could spend in several lifetimes. I could have taken over the family business, lived off trust funds, married someone from our social circle. This revelation stunned me. Alex had never mentioned wealth, never displayed any signs of privilege. Then why didn't you? Because that life felt empty. I wanted to do something that mattered, to use my skills to help people. Being a doctor gives me purpose that money never could. He paused, looking directly at me. Maybe just like your ice cream booth gave you joy that your family's wealth couldn't provide. How did you know about my family? Alex smiled gently. Emily, your father built one of the largest shopping centers in the country. That's a legacy to be proud of. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. So, you know I'm the mall heiress, yet I chose to work at a simple ice cream booth. I know you're someone who chose authenticity over appearances, who treats every person with dignity regardless of their position. I know you're brilliant and kind and completely unaware of how extraordinary you are. Alex reached across the table, covering my hand with his. Your ex-husband was a fool, Emily. But his loss doesn't define your worth. The warmth of Alex's touch, the sincerity in his voice, made something inside me begin to thaw. For months, I'd protected myself from caring too much, from trusting too deeply. But Alex's patience and genuine affection were slowly breaking down those walls. Still, doubt lingered. How do I know you're not just interested in me because of my family's money? Because I've had 6 months to make a move based on financial interest, and instead I've spent that time getting to know the woman who remembers every customer's favorite ice cream flavor, who learned the names of every mall employee in her first month, who cries when she's overwhelmed but never gives up on the people counting on her. His words wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket. This man saw me, really saw me, in a way Nathan never had. That night, I called Mom to talk about Alex. He sounds wonderful, sweetheart. But you seem hesitant. I'm scared, Mom. What if I'm wrong about him? What if I'm just setting myself up for more heartbreak? Emily, you can't let fear keep you from living. Yes, loving someone is a risk. But the alternative, closing yourself off from connection, that isn't really living at all. As autumn deepened into winter, my confidence in managing the mall grew stronger. I'd successfully navigated lease renewals, implemented new marketing strategies, and built relationships with community organizations that increased foot traffic by 20%. But more importantly, I was slowly learning to trust again. Alex's consistent kindness, his respect for my independence, his genuine interest in my thoughts and dreams, all of it was helping me believe that not all men were like Nathan. Maybe I was ready to risk my heart one more time. Winter brought unexpected turbulence back into my carefully rebuilt life. I was reviewing quarterly reports in my new office when my phone buzzed with a text from Jake, our mutual friend. Emily, thought you should know, Nathan's been asking about you. A lot. Says he heard some crazy rumor that you own the mall or something. I told him he was being ridiculous, but he keeps pressing. My stomach clenched. I'd worked hard to keep my family background private, even from close friends. The fact that rumors were circulating meant my rising profile in the business world was becoming harder to hide. 2 days later, Nathan called. I stared at his name on my phone screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. Finally, curiosity won. Hi, Nathan. Emily. His voice was softer than I remembered, lacking the dismissive edge that had characterized our final months together. Thank you for taking my call. I know I don't deserve it. What do you want? I heard something that doesn't make sense. Somebody mentioned you're working at that mall in some management capacity. That seems like a step up from the ice cream booth. I could hear the confusion in his voice, the way he was fishing for information without directly asking. I help with family business now. Family business. A long pause. Emily, whose family business? My heart raced. This was the moment I dreaded, having to explain to my ex-husband why I'd hidden my background for our entire relationship. The mall is my family's, Nathan. My father built this Silverwood Mall from nothing 25 years ago. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. You're telling me, Nathan's voice was barely above a whisper, that for 4 years, Emily. 4 years. You let me believe you were just some girl who liked serving ice cream? While your family owned one of the biggest shopping centers in the state? Yes. Why? The word cracked with emotion. Why would you hide that from me? I'd rehearsed this conversation in my mind dozens of times, but now that it was happening, the words felt inadequate. Because I wanted to know that you loved me for who I am, not what my family has. I wanted to build my own life, earn my own way. But I was your husband, Emily. I had a right to know. Did you? The old anger flared. The same husband who was embarrassed by my job, who complained about my lack of ambition, who left me for someone with more obvious wealth and status. Nathan fell quiet. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, he said, I made a terrible mistake. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar ache in my chest. Nathan. No, please, let me say this. I've been miserable, Emily. Absolutely miserable. Vanessa and I. It's not what I thought it would be. She's cold, calculating. Everything is about money and status and appearances. That's what you wanted. I thought it was, but it's empty. I lie awake thinking about what we had, how you used to laugh at my terrible jokes, the way you'd listen to my problems from work, how safe I felt with you. His voice broke. I threw away the best thing in my life for fool's gold. Tears stung my eyes, but I forced my voice to remain steady. Nathan, you made your choice. I want to fix this. I want to come home. The words I'd once desperately longed to hear now felt like stones in my stomach. It's too late. Emily, please. We had 4 beautiful years together. I know I hurt you, but we can rebuild. We can have the life we both deserve now. The life we both deserve. Even in his apology, Nathan was thinking about what my family's wealth could provide. The realization cut deep but maybe clarified something. I need to go, I said. Will you at least think about it? Meet me for coffee? Let me prove that I've changed? Against my better judgment, I agreed to consider it. After hanging up, I sat in my office staring out at the mall below, my mall, my responsibility, now my life. Alex found me there an hour later, still processing Nathan's call. You look like someone who's seen a ghost, he observed, settling into the chair across from my desk. Something like that. I explained Nathan's call, watching Alex's expression grow increasingly concerned. How are you feeling about it? Confused. Angry? Sad. I rubbed my temples. Part of me always wondered if he'd come back, what I'd do if he did. And now you know. I thought I knew. But hearing his voice again, hearing him say he made a mistake, I trailed off. Alex was quiet for a long moment. Emily, can I tell you something as your friend? Of course. A man who truly loves you doesn't leave in the first place. He doesn't abandon you when life gets hard or when someone shinier comes along. He stays, and he works, and he chooses you every single day. His words settled into my heart with painful clarity. You think I'm being foolish for even considering it. I think you're being human. It's natural to want closure, to wonder what if. But don't let nostalgia blind you to who Nathan really showed himself to be. That weekend, I met Nathan at a small cafe downtown, neutral territory away from both the mall and our old haunts. He looked older somehow, worn down in a way that surprised me. You look beautiful, Emily. More confident than I remember. Thank you. I kept my voice polite but distant. I've been thinking about us constantly since I found out about your family. About how different things could have been if I'd known. But that's exactly the problem, Nathan. You're thinking about what could have been different if you'd known about my family's money. Not about what you did wrong in our actual relationship. Nathan leaned forward earnestly. Emily, I was immature? I let my insecurities and ambitions cloud my judgment. But losing you taught me what really matters. Which is? You? Us? The life we built together. I studied his face, searching for the sincerity I'd once found so compelling. Nathan, do you remember why I started the ice cream booth? He looked confused by the change of subject. You said you wanted to connect with people. I said I wanted to build something that was mine. Something that would prove my worth had nothing to do with my family's success. I paused. You never understood that. You saw my choice as a character flaw instead of a strength. I understand now. I see how independent and capable you are. Running this mall, managing all these responsibilities. Stop. The word came out sharper than I intended. You're doing it again. You're impressed by the business success, the financial responsibility. But those things don't make me more worthy of love than I was when I was scooping ice cream. Nathan's face flushed. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? You left me because you thought I wasn't ambitious enough. Now you want me back because you discovered I'm wealthy. How is that love, Nathan? How is that anything more than opportunism? Emily, please. I need to go. I stood, gathering my purse. Thank you for the apology. It means something to hear you admit you were wrong. But we can't go back. As I reached the cafe door, Nathan called after me. Emily, I still love you. That has to count for something. I turned back, meeting his desperate gaze. Nathan, you love the idea of me. You always have. But you never truly saw who I am underneath all the rest. Driving home, I felt emotionally drained but also oddly liberated. Nathan's return had forced me to confront lingering questions about our relationship, and the answers were clearer than I'd expected. That evening, Vanessa called. Emily Hart. This is Vanessa Cole. I think we need to talk. Her voice was crisp, professional, but I detected an undercurrent of fury that made me immediately wary. About what? About Nathan. About his pathetic attempts to crawl back to you now that he knows about your family's money. My blood ran cold. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, please. Don't play innocent with me. Nathan's been texting you, calling you, begging for another chance, Do you know what he told me yesterday? He said, Emily always loved me, and she'll take me back. All that money will be mine again. The words hit like physical blows. He said what? Among other charming observations about how he can manipulate your lingering feelings to secure his financial future. Vanessa's laugh was bitter. I may be many things, Emily, but I'm not stupid. I can see Nathan for exactly what he is, a weak, greedy man who views women as stepping stones to the life he thinks he deserves. I sank into a chair, processing this revelation. Why are you telling me this? Because I refuse to let him leave me for someone else. If this relationship is ending, it ends on my terms, not because he found a better meal ticket. Vanessa Cole. Save it. I know exactly what I am, and I know exactly what he is. But you, Emily Hart, are apparently still naive enough to believe his lies about love and redemption. The call ended, leaving me staring at my phone in shock. Nathan's sweet words about missing our life together, about realizing what truly mattered, all of it had been calculated manipulation designed to access my family's wealth. I thought about Alex's warning, about how a man who truly loves you doesn't leave in the first place. Nathan hadn't just left me for someone else, he was now trying to use me for financial gain while planning to abandon Vanessa as callously as he'd abandoned me. The man I'd married, the man I'd mourned losing, had never existed at all. For the first time since Nathan's phone call, I felt completely, utterly free. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor to Silverwood Mall. I was in a management meeting when Clara knocked on the conference room door. Miss Hart, there's someone here to see you. He says it's a family emergency. Nathan stood in the main corridor, looking small and out of place among the bustling shoppers and elegant storefronts. He wore his best suit, but I could see the signs of stress, the tired eyes, the slightly desperate posture of a man whose careful plans were unraveling. Emily, thank you for seeing me. I know yesterday didn't go well, but, Nathan, what are you doing here? I needed to see where you work, to understand what your life has become. He looked around with poorly concealed amazement. This is incredible. All of this is your responsibility. Yes, only partly. The woman I married was managing an empire, and I never knew. He shook his head in apparent wonder. Emily, seeing you in your element like this. You're magnificent. His words felt hollow after Vanessa's revelation. I could see the calculation behind his admiration, the way he assessed everything in terms of financial value rather than personal meaning. We should talk privately, I said, not wanting to create a scene in the middle of the mall. I led Nathan to my office on the 7th floor, watching his reaction to the spacious room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire shopping center. He moved to the window, taking in the scope of what he'd discovered. My God, Emily! All those times I complained, you were sitting on this. I wasn't sitting on anything, Nathan. I chose not to be involved in the family business. I wanted to build my own life. But why? He turned to face me, genuine confusion in his expression. Why would you choose to struggle when you could have had all this? I settled behind my desk, creating distance between us. Because I wanted to know that anything good in my life, love, friendship, success, was something I earned, not something I inherited. That's noble, Emily, but it's also naive. You could have told me the truth. We could have built something together. What would we have built? Nathan, a relationship where you valued me for my family's money instead of dismissing me for my personal choices. I leaned forward. You left me because I wasn't impressive enough. Now you want me back because I'm too impressive to lose. How is that love? Nathan moved closer to my desk. I made mistakes, I admit that. But we can learn from them. We can have the life we both deserve. There's that phrase again. The life we both deserve. Nathan, what does that mean to you? It means comfort, security, the ability to live without constantly worrying about money. It means being able to hold our heads high in any social situation. His honesty was more damning than any lie could have been. And what about the life we actually had? Our small apartment, my ice cream booth, the quiet evenings when it was just us talking about our days, did none of that have value? Of course it did, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. I stood, moving to the window where Nathan had been standing. Do you want to know why I never told you about my family's wealth? Yes. Because I was afraid of exactly this conversation. I was afraid that knowing about the money would change how you saw me, would make you unable to love Emily Hart the person instead of Emily Hart the heiress. You're here because you found out about my family's money, not because you genuinely missed our life together. You left me for Vanessa because she seemed more successful than I did. Now you want to leave her for me because I'm more successful than she is. Nathan, you don't love me. You love what I can provide. Nathan's face crumpled. Emily, please. I know I've made terrible mistakes, but can't people change? Can't you forgive me? For a moment, I saw the man I'd fallen in love with 5 years ago, vulnerable, hopeful, asking for a second chance. But then I remembered Vanessa's words, Nathan's crude comments about accessing my money, and I knew that whatever capacity for growth he might possess, he wasn't there yet. Nathan, I talked to Vanessa yesterday. His face went white. What? She told me about your conversation with her. About how I'd take you back because I still love you, and how that would give you access to my family's money. Emily, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. She made it very clear that your interest in reconciliation has nothing to do with love and everything to do with financial opportunity. Nathan sank into the chair across from my desk. She's bitter. She's trying to sabotage us because she doesn't want to lose me. Is she lying? The silence stretched between us. Finally, Nathan looked up with tears in his eyes. Emily, I don't know how to separate my feelings anymore. Yes, I'm attracted to the idea of financial security. Yes, learning about your family's wealth, but that doesn't mean my love for made me realize what I'd thrown away. You isn't real. His raw honesty was both heartbreaking and infuriating. Nathan, love isn't supposed to be conditional on circumstances. It's supposed to be about choosing someone regardless of what they can provide. I chose wrong before. I'm trying to choose right now. But you are still choosing based on what I can give you rather than who I am. You left me when you thought I was small and insignificant. You want me back now that you know I'm wealthy and powerful. Neither choice had anything to do with Emily the person. Nathan buried his face in his hands. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand why we can never go back. I want you to see that real love, the kind I'm learning I deserve, doesn't waver based on external circumstances. Are you saying there's someone else? I thought about Alex, about his consistent kindness and respect, about the way he valued my thoughts and dreams without any regard for my family's financial status. I'm saying I'm learning what real love looks like. And it looks nothing like what we had. Nathan stood slowly, defeat written across his features. I've lost you completely, haven't I? Nathan, you lost me the day you decided I wasn't good enough as I was. Everything since then has just been the inevitable conclusion. After he left, I called Alex. I needed to hear the voice of someone who cared about me for the right reasons. How did it go? He asked gently. Exactly like you predicted. Even his apologies were about what he could gain. Emily, I'm sorry. I know that must hurt, even when you expected it. It does hurt. But it also feels like closure. For the first time since our divorce, I'm completely sure that ending it was the right choice. Good. You deserve so much better than conditional love. That evening, I sat in my small apartment looking through old photos. Pictures of Nathan and me during our dating years, our wedding day, quiet moments that had once seemed so meaningful. I could see now what I'd missed then, how Nathan's attention was always partly elsewhere, always calculating what came next instead of being present in what we had. I thought about Alex's steady presence, his genuine interest in my thoughts and feelings, the way he'd supported me through family crisis without expecting anything in return. This was what love looked like when it was real, consistent, generous, patient. Nathan had taught me what I didn't want. Alex was showing me what I did. Spring arrived with a sense of renewal that seemed to permeate every aspect of my life. The mall was thriving under my leadership, with occupancy rates at an all-time high and several major retailers expressing interest in expansion. More importantly, I'd found my rhythm as a business leader, balancing my natural empathy with the decisiveness required for major financial decisions. The quarterly board meeting in March was a celebration of our success. Richard Holloway, once my biggest skeptic, stood to address the room. 6 months ago, I questioned whether Emily Hart had the experience to guide this organization. Today, I'm proud to report that under her financial leadership, Silverwood Mall has exceeded every performance target we set. Revenue is up 18%, tenant satisfaction scores are at record highs, and employee retention has improved dramatically. The applause felt surreal. A year ago, I'd been selling ice cream and nursing a broken heart. Now I was being praised for transforming a major commercial enterprise. But the real satisfaction came from smaller moments. Like when Marion, one of our custodial staff, stopped me in the hallway to thank me for the new employee childcare program I'd implemented. Or when the teenage employees at the food court started calling me Miss Emily with genuine affection rather than obligation. You've created something special here, Clara observed as we reviewed the month's financials. Your father built this place, but you've given it a soul. That evening, Alex and I met for dinner at a quiet restaurant away from the mall. Over the past few months, our friendship had deepened into something more meaningful, though we'd both been careful not to rush into anything serious. You look happy, Alex said as we settled into our booth. Really happy, not just professionally satisfied. I am happy. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And where is that? I considered the question carefully. Living authentically. Making decisions based on my values instead of other people's expectations. Building something meaningful. Alex smiled. It suits you. This confidence, this sense of purpose, it's beautiful to watch. Alex, can I tell you something? Anything. When Nathan came back, part of me wondered if I was being too rigid, too unforgiving. Maybe I should have given him another chance. Alex's expression grew serious. What changed your mind? Talking to you. Watching how you treat people, how you make decisions based on what's right rather than what's advantageous. I met his eyes. You showed me what integrity looks like in daily life. I took a breath. Nathan taught me what I don't want in a relationship. But you've shown me what I do want. Consistency. Respect. Someone who sees value in who I am, not what I can provide. Alex reached across the table, taking my hand. I've been hoping you'd come to that realization. Have you? Because I've been terrified that I was reading too much into our friendship. Emily Hart, I've been falling in love with you since the day we met in that hospital. But I knew you needed time to heal, to rediscover your own strength. The words I'd been afraid to hope for wrapped around my heart like sunlight. Really? Really. I love your kindness, your intelligence, the way you remember everyone's name and make them feel important. I love that you chose humility over privilege, that you work harder than anyone I know, that you find joy in simple things. Tears blurred my vision. I love you too, Alex. I think I have for months, but I was too scared to admit it. What were you scared of? That I was wrong about you. That you'd turn out to be like Nathan, interested in my family's money rather than me. Alex squeezed my hand. Emily, if I wanted wealth, I could have stayed home and lived off trust funds. I chose medicine because I wanted to matter, to help people, to build something meaningful with my life. Just like I chose the ice cream booth. Exactly like that. That night, Alex walked me to my apartment door. We'd shared dozens of friendly hugs over the months, but this felt different, charged with the electricity of acknowledged feelings. Emily, Alex said softly, I want you to know that I'm in no hurry. We can take this as slowly as you need. I looked up at this man who'd been patient with my healing, supportive of my dreams, and consistently kind without expecting anything in return. What if I don't want to go slowly anymore? Alex's smile was radiant. Then we'll figure it out together. He kissed me softly, and I felt something I'd never experienced with Nathan, complete trust, total safety, the certainty that this man would choose me every day regardless of circumstances. The following week brought an unexpected surprise. Alex arrived at my office carrying a gift bag, his eyes twinkling with mischief. What's this for? Your 33rd birthday is next week, and I wanted to give you something special. Inside the bag was the tiniest brown puppy I'd ever seen, all floppy ears and wiggling tail. Alex, he's adorable. But I don't know how to take care of a puppy. That's the beauty of it. Neither do I, but we can learn together. Alex grinned. Besides, every person who builds something meaningful needs a loyal companion to share it with. I held the puppy close, feeling his tiny heartbeat against my chest. What should we name him? What do you think? I looked at his chocolate-colored fur, his sweet brown eyes. Choco? Perfect. Choco it is. That weekend, Alex helped me puppy-proof my apartment while Choco explored every corner with boundless enthusiasm. Watching Alex patiently teach the puppy basic commands, seeing his gentle humor as Choco inevitably had accidents on the carpet, I felt my heart expand in ways I hadn't known were possible. "You're going to be a wonderful father someday," I said without thinking. Alex looked up from where he was cleaning puppy teeth marks off my coffee table leg. "Is that something you want? Children?" "Someday, with the right person." I paused. "Is it something you want?" "Very much. I've always imagined having a family, raising kids who understand that privilege comes with responsibility, who know that the best things in life are earned through character and hard work. Like your parents taught you. And like your parents taught you." As spring progressed into summer, my relationship with Alex deepened naturally. He understood my need for independence, never tried to solve my problems without being asked, and celebrated my successes without taking credit for them. When I had difficult days at work, he listened without judgment. When I achieved new milestones, he was genuinely proud. More importantly, he fit seamlessly into the life I'd built. The mall employees liked him, my parents adored him, and even Choco had claimed Alex as his second favorite person. One evening in June, Nathan texted me one final time, "Emily, I know you've moved on, but I need you to know that leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. I hope someday you can forgive me." I showed the message to Alex, who read it thoughtfully. "How does that make you feel?" he asked. Sad for him, but not tempted. Nathan's living with the consequences of choices he made when he thought he knew what would make him happy. I can't fix that for him. "And you're happy with your choices?" I looked around my small apartment, at Choco sleeping in his bed, at Alex reading beside me on the couch, at the framed photo from last week's employee appreciation dinner where I was surrounded by people I genuinely cared about. "I'm happier than I ever imagined possible." Alex closed his book and pulled me closer. "Good. Because I plan to spend a very long time making sure you stay that way." In the distance, I could see the lights of Silverwood Mall twinkling against the night sky. My mall, my responsibility, my life that I'd built from authenticity and hard work and the belief that real success comes from treating people with dignity. Nathan had been wrong about so many things, but especially this: I hadn't been too small for him. He'd been too small for me. And Alex, kind, patient, genuinely person, was exactly the right size for the life I wanted to build. The October morning when Nathan made his final attempt to reach me, I was in my office planning the mall's holiday marketing campaign with my team. Clara knocked on the conference room door with an apologetic expression. "Miss Hart, Nathan Cross is here. He says it's urgent and personal." My colleagues looked curious, but I kept my expression neutral. "Tell him I'll meet him in the main corridor in 5 minutes." I found Nathan sitting on one of the benches near the fountain, looking more defeated than I'd ever seen him. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and there was a desperate quality to his posture that made my chest tighten with unexpected sympathy. "Emily, thank you for seeing me. I know I don't deserve your time." "Nathan, what's wrong? You look terrible." "Vanessa and I are over. Completely over. She found someone else, a partner at her law firm with more money and better connections." He laughed bitterly. Apparently, I wasn't ambitious enough for her either. I sat beside him on the bench, maintaining careful distance. "I'm sorry. I know that must hurt. The irony isn't lost on me. I left you because I thought you weren't successful enough, and now someone's leaving me for the exact same reason." "Nathan, stop. No, let me say this. Please." He turned to face me, and I saw genuine remorse in his eyes. "I've been living in this tiny studio apartment for 3 months, working the same job I complained about when we were married, driving the same car I was embarrassed about. And you know what I realized? I waited. I was happier with you in our small apartment than I've been at any point since. Emily, the problem was never our life together. The problem was that I couldn't appreciate what I had." His words carried a weight of hard-earned wisdom that I'd never heard from him before. "I'm saying I understand now why you didn't tell me about your family's money. You were protecting something precious, the certainty that people cared about you for the right reasons." Nathan's voice broke slightly. "And I proved that your instinct was right. The moment I learned about your wealth, I started seeing you differently, valuing you differently." "Nathan, please." "Emily, I know it's too late for us. I can see it in your eyes, and honestly, I can see it in the life you've built. You're thriving, you're surrounded by people who respect and admire you, you're doing work that matters, and unless you're surrounded by people who respect and admire you, very much mistaken, you found someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved." I thought about Alex, who was probably at the hospital right now, saving lives with the same quiet competence he brought to everything. "Yes, I have." Nathan nodded sadly. "I'm glad. You deserve happiness, real happiness. I just wanted to apologize one final time, and to tell you that losing you taught me something important about love." "What's that?" "That it's not about finding someone who can give you the life you want. It's about building the life you both want together, based on who you actually are, not who you think you should be." For the first time since our divorce, I saw glimpses of the man I'd fallen in love with, vulnerable, reflective, capable of growth. But I also knew that people don't truly change until they're forced to face the consequences of their choices. "Nathan, I hope you find what you're looking for. But I hope you find it by becoming the person you want to be, not by finding someone who can give you what you think you need." "I'm trying, Emily. It's harder than I thought, learning to be content with myself instead of always reaching for something else." After Nathan left, I felt a profound sense of closure. Not because he'd apologized, though that meant something, but because I could finally see our entire relationship clearly. Nathan hadn't been a villain, just a man who'd confused wanting things with wanting happiness. That evening, I stopped by my parents' house for dinner. Dad was looking healthier than he had in months, his energy returning. "How are you feeling about taking over completely when I retire next year?" he asked over Mom's famous pot roast. "Excited? Nervous? Ready?" I paused. "Dad, do you ever regret building this business? The long hours, the stress, the sacrifices?" Dad considered the question seriously. "I regret missing some of your childhood activities, some moments I can't get back. But building something meaningful, creating jobs for thousands of people, being part of this community, no, I don't regret that. Even though I almost walked away from it completely? Especially because of that, Mom interjected. You choosing to be involved now means everything, because we know it's genuine. You're not here because you have to be, you're here because you want to be. After dinner, I drove to my little house 5 minutes away from my parents' mansion. I'd bought it 6 months ago, a tiny cottage with a garden and enough space for Choco to run around. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, decorated with things I loved rather than things that impressed others. Alex was waiting on the porch with Choco, both of them looking perfectly content with the simple pleasure of watching the sunset. Good day? Alex asked as I settled beside him on the porch swing. Complicated day. But good. I told him about Nathan's visit, about the genuine remorse and hard-won wisdom I'd seen in my ex-husband's eyes. How do you feel about it? Grateful, actually. Grateful that I learned to value myself enough to walk away from conditional love. Grateful that I had the chance to build something real with my life. Grateful that I found someone who sees me clearly and loves what he sees. Alex pulled me closer, and I felt the deep contentment that comes from being exactly where you belong. Emily, I have something to ask you. What? My parents are coming to visit next month. They want to meet the woman who's captured their son's heart so completely. Are you nervous about that? Not even a little. I can't wait for them to meet you, to see why I'm so completely, hopelessly in love with you. The words sent warmth spreading through my chest. I love you too, Alex. More than I ever thought possible. As the stars emerged in the darkening sky, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. Nathan's betrayal had nearly broken me, but it had also freed me to discover who I really was beneath other people's expectations. I'd learned to run a business with integrity, to treat success as a responsibility rather than a privilege, to surround myself with people who valued authenticity over appearance. Most importantly, I'd learned that real love doesn't waver based on circumstances. It grows stronger through challenges, celebrates character over achievements, and chooses commitment over convenience. A few weeks later, Alex and I hosted a housewarming party in my tiny cottage. My parents came, along with Alex's parents, several colleagues from the mall, and even some of my regular customers from the old ice cream booth days. Choco, now grown into a dignified chocolate Labrador, greeted each guest with enthusiastic tail wags and gentle nuzzles. This is perfect, sweetheart, Mom said, admiring the simple decorations and genuine laughter filling every room. Small but full of love. Just the way I like it, I replied, watching Alex teach one of my young employees how to properly flip burgers on the grill. Later, as the last guest departed and we cleaned up together, Alex found an old photo that had fallen behind the couch during the party. It was a picture of me from 4 years ago, standing in front of my tiny ice cream booth with big smile. Do you ever miss it? Alex asked gently. The simplicity of that time? I studied the photo, remembering that version of myself, younger, more naive, still believing that love meant never having to prove your worth. I miss the innocence, I said finally. But I don't miss the uncertainty. I don't miss wondering if I was enough, if what I had to offer mattered. And now? I looked around my small house, filled with evidence of genuine relationships and meaningful work. I thought about the mall employees who trusted me, the business I was building with integrity, the man beside me who'd chosen me consistently through every season of growth. Now I know exactly who I am and what I'm worth. And I know that the people who matter will see it too. Alex kissed the top of my head. I see it, Emily Hart. Every day, I see exactly how extraordinary you are. As we turned off the lights and headed to bed, Choco trotting contentedly behind us, I felt the deep satisfaction that comes from a life lived authentically. Nathan had been wrong about so many things, but especially this: happiness wasn't about getting what you thought you deserved. It was about becoming who you were meant to be and finding people who loved exactly that person. I was Emily Hart, mall heiress who chose humility, heartbreak survivor who chose hope, woman who'd learned that the best things in life were built on truth rather than convenience. And for the first time in my 33 years, that was more than enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more heartwarming stories to enjoy.